Yeah.
Okay, so for today, what you guys should have done is filled out your sheet, okay, where you selected your tiles and the combinations, right? So you should have a crystal glaze that we have and a base glaze that we have and a combination, okay? So you wrote the names. So for today, what we're going to do is actually make the tile that those glazes are going to go on, okay? This is a tile that I have made in the past. This one I actually tried tried to fuse glass to ceramic, which is something we can talk about. It's kind of fun. When you're making a tile, you want to make sure you have it labeled. You want to make sure you try some texture out so you can see how the glaze will affect the textures that you have, okay? So for today, in a minute, you're going to get a piece of clay. We don't need a whole lot. You're also going to need a little stencil that looks like this. I just made a simple 4x6 with divided up into thirds-ish. Okay, and then you're going to have your 3 tiles. You're going to fold them on this dotted line so that they kind of stand up. The reason for that is a lot of glazes move or crawl based on if it's like on a wall or if it's flat. So you want to have something that's going to have both of those areas. Okay, so I've already wedged this a little bit. I'm just going to roll it with a rolling pin. Because this clay is recycled clay or clay that's been worked a lot, don't be afraid to grab a Kemper tool. Those are in the corner by glazes, and go over top of that with your on your slab because sometimes that can help to strengthen your clay. Also, if you have areas where there's cracks because the pieces have been combined, it will help to smooth those out and make it solid. Okay, remember to wedge your clay before you do that. I just didn't want to show you on the video because it's loud. Okay, so try to go for about the pink thickness of a pinky. You can kind of eyeball it. Just want to make sure that you can fit your stencil on there, okay? So however it's going to fit on there, stick it down, and then you're going to cut it out, okay? And hopefully I can find something that I want to use, okay? Remember to always cut through your corners, okay? So if you look, I'm actually starting to cut before I get to the corner so that way they don't get all wonky, okay? And if they end up slightly a little different, thicknesses, that's okay for this. You're making 3 separate tiles that are 3 separate things. So it's all right if they're slightly different in thickness. Okay? Then what I'm going to do here, now that I have this little slab, is just kind of divide it into the thirds. Okay? You can use your stencil to help you if you want, or you can just eyeball it. Okay? Then we're going to go ahead and cut all the way through. Now you won't be able to apply your glaze today, right? Because we're just in the greenware phase, okay? But what you can do is apply the names and also textures, okay? So once I have cut all the way through those, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of shape and form them. The dotted line is here because you want to fold it about there just so it stands up on its own. If it's not exactly there, then you know it's wherever it feels like the clay is going to be steady, okay? Smooth out your edges, kind of get it to be nice and sturdy. Okay, so there's one of them, and then I'll do the same thing here, okay? And again, if your clay is wanting to warp or something when you do this, you can always spray it if you need to. You also want to make sure you have your name. So this little area, this little foot I've made is where a good place to write your name and the glaze, okay? So think of that as kind of your labeling area. The front side is your texture and glazing area, okay? Some people will try to use both sides because they want to try a couple different effects, and you can do that. Just make sure that you have enough room down here to write what you need to write, okay? So I'm going to use somebody else's for example. So tile number 1, they want to try Sea Wind and the Blue Heaven, okay? Now you can abbreviate things, but you need to abbreviate them in a way that you're going to understand. So that's why you want to keep your reference sheet, okay? So you would put your name on there, okay? Here I am on my little foot here. I'm going to put my name on it. You can also put your name on the bottom side of the foot since no glaze is going to go there. And so for the crystal glaze, we're just going to call it C. Okay, so just kind of shortening it. And then the base glaze is Blue Heaven. So I would shorten that by just saying Blue BH. Does that make sense? So I've shortened it to C, wind, but C. And then instead of Blue Heaven, just BH. Okay? If you want to try and type the whole thing out, that's up to you. That's why we'll keep this too, though, so you can kind of remember. All right? So it has my name. It has the 2 glazes I'm going to put on there. The rest of it is kind of playing with the tile and what you want to test out. Okay, you have a variety of things in the tub you could use. I like to, of course, try different textures and different patterns. So, for example, this one's going to give me a nice sort of a circular pattern. Okay, kind of would be interesting to see how the glaze would affect something like that. Okay, so I'm building up a little texture there. Maybe you want to try just something simple like some lines so you can see how the glaze would settle into rows or a pattern if you were to add that to your tile. Okay, if you have something really specific you want to try, it's a good idea. I also like to leave at least one place where it's just flat so I can see what it would be like on a flat surface too. Okay, so this would be about ready then. I have a couple different types of texture. Okay, I have a flat area and I have my label. And then you guys can put them on the top of the card. Okay, and then I have my two remaining to label and texture. You guys have any questions?